The movie opens up with a shot of a young girl covered in blood. She's on a farm and is breathing heavily. Around her, the cows are wailing and dying gruesome deaths. In the background, we can hear her mother's voice calling out to her. When the farm dog attacks her, the movie fades to black. A woman on a bus wakes up from a nightmare as the rest of the passengers sing along to a song. Her friend teases her for sleeping with her boyfriend, but she begs her to keep the whole thing under wraps. Some time passes and all the passengers on the bus take a nap. While they're not paying attention, the bus takes an unexpected detour from the highway into an abandoned mine. As everyone on the bus wonders what they're doing here, some men put on sleeping masks and fill the bus with green gas. They beat everyone unconscious and take the woman with them. The woman wakes up in a lab strapped to a bed. The news tells us that all the passengers in her bus were killed, and the whole thing was made to look like a crash. Besides her is Beck's twin sister, who we'll call the professor from now onwards. She reassures her of her safety. But the woman is more worried about the baby she's carrying. The professor tells her that she already knows the woman is pregnant with a girl. She tells her that her child will soon have a younger sister and many more siblings. Soon enough, Beck joins the professor and tells the woman that she's not aware of her potential. In the present day, a woman with a tattoo that reads, Tua, smokes a cigarette outside the lab. She then joins her subordinates as they ruthlessly kill experimental subjects in a lab. The only survivor is a woman named Ark-1. She removes her tubes and makes her way outside through the bloody mess. We find that the lab is in the middle of nowhere on a snow field. As Ark-1 moves further away, she gets a headache, and her power starts spiraling out of control. She begins affecting the entire field around her. Whoever she is, she's the most powerful metahuman yet. On the other side, some cars make their way to the professor's house. The man leading the people in these cars is Jang, the professor's nephew. He's a metahuman as well and has come to the professor's house to discuss business matters. While he tries to make small talk, the professor directly asks him about the breach in the facility which caused Ark-1's escape. He thinks that Jai-Yoon is responsible for releasing the Tuas, who raided the lab. But whoever leaked her intel is someone internal. Either the professor's side, the Alliance, or his side, the transhumanists are stirring the pot. The movie shifts back to Ark-1, who's now walking through a snow-filled forest. She eventually reaches a road and is almost run over by a car. Inside the car are henchmen of a gangster named Young-Do, and one of his men forcibly put Ark-1 inside the car. Another seemingly innocent woman, Kyung-hee, is also inside the van and pleads with the men to let Ark-1 go. After repeated requests from Kyung-hee, she's beaten into submission by the men. Then they start abusing Ark-1, which is a bad move on their part. She begins taking out the men one by one as parts of the car go flying like we're in a cartoon. The car eventually crashes into a forest. As Kyung-hee comes to her senses, she begs Ark-1 to let the men go. She then calls the authorities and makes a break for it along with Ark-1. They're picked up by Uncle, who, well, is Kyung-hee's uncle and doesn't have a name, so that's what we're calling him. Uncle operates a vet clinic and when Ark-1's unconscious, begins removing shrapnel from her body. After a few minutes of surgery, Uncle is surprised to find that Ark-1 healed herself on her own. He can't believe it and looks at his glass of whiskey like, "Yeah, I've been drinking too much." After the surgery, Uncle begins talking with Kyung-hee, expressing worry that Young-Do's now harassing her openly for her father's property. However, Kyung-hee is worried for the girl. When Uncle suggests they call the police, Kyung-hee tells him there's no need as she'll be taking the girl in. In another blood-filled laboratory, a woman is killing the last of the remaining metahumans with shots to the head. After she's done with her job, Jo Hyun asks her partner to send the cleanup crew and joins him outside. The foreigner chews Jo Hyun's ear out for being reckless, but she can't care less about the whole situation. The movie reveals that Jo Hyun is a metahuman as well. As she picks off bullets from various wounds in her body, her wounds heal on their own. She then settles down with a glass of whiskey and looks at information on her laptop at lightning speed, absorbing all of it. Kyung-hee finally takes Ark-1 home, and on the journey, Ark-1 sticks her head outside the window and waves at animals with a childlike innocence. When they're home, we're introduced to Kyung-hee's brother Dae-gil. He sees her sister's injuries and holds her face to look at them. However, Ark-1 mistakes his intent and is about to attack him when Kyung-hee tells her to stop. Afterward, Kyung-hee sets up the dinner table and invites Ark-1 to eat. Ark-1 is fascinated by the food because she's probably never had a proper meal at the lab. As she's looking at the food, Dae-gil gets into a fight with his sister since she disappeared and only came back when their dad died. He thinks she's pretending to care for their father's land. While the brother and sister are engaged in a fight, Ark-1 eats everything on the dinner table. Kyung-hee then shows Ark-1 to her room and thanks her for saving her life. The professor meets up with Jo Hyun and briefs her about Ark-1. Turns out that once they kidnapped the woman from the beginning of the film, they cloned the embryo inside her. Ark-1 was only one of the clones, effectively making the woman Ark-1's mother. Jo Hyun then brings up Jae-yoon and the professor mentions her last known whereabouts, the Shanghai lab, from the first film. She tells Jo Hyun that despite being powerful, Jae-yoon is still dependent on drugs. This isn't the case with Ark-1, who needs to be eliminated. Jo Hyun accepts the assignment, and the professor gives her a tracker to hone in on Ark-1's location. As Jo Hyun and her subordinates set out to eliminate Ark-1, they end up being chased by some unknown agents. The subordinate takes a detour into the forest and crashes into their car. He then takes the agents on in a fight and proves too fast and too strong for them, incapacitating them in a few moments. Jo Hyun asks the agents to tell their boss she'd like some FaceTime with him, suggesting she knows who's responsible. In the few moments after the fight, they finally pick up the signal to Ark-1's location. Back at Kyung-hee's house, Ark-1 begins hearing her mother again and has a nose-bleeding headache along with it. In her distress, she releases her power again, this time stopping time itself. As she comes to, she peers out the window to find some cars making their way to Kyung-hee's house. Young-do himself has arrived to make true on his threats, and he's not happy about what Ark-1 did to his men. The brother and sister try their best to hold Young-do's men off but are eventually at their mercy. It's revealed that Young-do is actually their uncle and will go to any lengths to get his hands on their father's land. Kyung-hee is angry at the state of affairs and calls Young-do out for killing her father. This enrages Young-do, who tells his men to beat some sense into her. As the henchmen continue to beat on the brother and sister, they're distracted by a figure on the roof. Ark-1 joins the fight by jumping down the roof and startling the men. She then punches one of them and sends him flying. One by one she starts taking them out until she has turned the tables on Young-do. The gangster, now cowering at her feet, is told by Kyung-hee to never come back again. Dae-gil is a little shaken up by the situation but can't get over how cool Ark-1 is. Jang, who turns out to be the man behind the agents chasing Jo Hyun, comes out of the shadows to meet her. They used to be former partners 10 years ago and spent some moments reminiscing. Jang then asks Jo Hyun why she's back on the hunt again. He suspects that the professor put her up to this because she doesn't trust Jang. He maintains his innocence and claims it was Jae-yoon who raided the lab Ark-1 was in. That said, it looks like the two Woos are also going to join the party very soon. They're on their way to an unknown location. As two of the members get into a disagreement, they're put in their place by the woman in sunglasses, who's inarguably their leader. Young-do isn't done either. He raids Uncle's place and begins interrogating him about Ark-1. After he's done with Uncle, he asks his henchmen to call the client who asked them for info about Ark-1. Who could this be? On the less serious side of things, Dae-gil is showing some videos about mukbang YouTubers to Ark-1 on his phone. He mentions that they can earn a lot of money if Ark-1 shows off her powers for the camera. But Ark-1 isn't interested in all of that. She's just fascinated by the food. The three then go into a grocery shop where Ark-1 goes off like a loose cannon. By that I mean she eats everything there is to offer by the stalls, giving free samples. While Dae-gil chases her around in order to stop the chaos, Kyung-hee slips away to help Uncle. She brings him back to his clinic, and he tells her to let Ark-1 go. He also wants her to give the land away to Young-do before he does any more harm. A dejected Kyung-hee walks away and sits in her car when she's joined by Jo Hyun and her subordinate. She shows Kyung-hee a video of Ark-1 killing soldiers like it's nothing. Afterward, she asks her to play along if she wants to save her brother. On the other side, Young-do finally comes face to face with the client that wanted info on Ark-1. They are the two Woos who have already taken out all the henchmen in his office. At the farm, Ark-1 grows closer to Dae-gil, who begins developing a crush on her. She trusts him and shows off her powers as the two sit under a starlit sky. As the movie heads to a climax, all the parties are gathering at the farm. Jo Hyun is going to use the cover of fireworks to take out Ark-1. Meanwhile, the two Woos are also on their way. At the house, Kyung-hee comes clean to Ark-1 about her betrayal. She then loads her gun and faces Young-do, who's outside the farm, tagging along with the two Woos. After a long-winded argument, Young-do shoots Kyung-hee and Dae-gil rushes to her sister's aid, leaving Ark-1 inside. In the background, the house is destroyed by a rocket launched by Jo Hyun's men. The two Woos realize they're not alone, and one of them moves to take out Jo Hyun's men. She uses her knives to quickly eliminate the men as they prove no match for her. At the farmhouse, Young-do is about to shoot Dae-gil but is taken out by Jo Hyun, who finally faces the two Woos. Their leader shows off her powers by manipulating a fence around her through telekinesis and killing all of Young-do's men in one fell swoop. In the ensuing fight, both Jo Hyun and her subordinate shoot at the two Woos, who move lightning fast through the air, dodging everything. Jo Hyun successfully takes out one of them but is caught off guard by the others. Lying beside Dae-gil, she tells him to get out of there but not before an injured Young-do shoots at them, killing the boy. Ark-1 finally wakes up after the rocket explosion and begins remembering the moments she shared with the siblings. She's greeted by one of the two Woos who tells her they were pretty sure they killed her. As she moves for the kill, Ark-1 stops time and stabs her in the head with her own knife. The fight between the remaining two Woos and Jo Hyun still rages on. She's pinned down by them but is saved by the subordinate who saves her with a suicidal tackle. Ark-1 finally makes her way to the farm only to find her human friends dead. In her rage, she sends a jolt of air toward one of the two Woos, tearing his arms off. The other one is slapped a mile away into a hackstack. The male two Woo attacks her even without his arms but proves no match for Ark-1. She then begins torturing Young-do. Thinking she's distracted, the remaining two Woos attack her again. Well, they're wrong. One of them is incapacitated when Ark-1 manipulates her limbs to stab her in the neck. The other one she blows up into a cloud of blood. Seeing this, the incapacitated two Woo crawls back when a figure steps out of a jeep. It's none other than Ja-yoon, the employer of the two Woos. She reveals that Ark-1 is her sister, and since she was injured she asked the two Woos to help break her out. However, they strayed from the mission when they decided to kill Ark-1. As she says this, she rips the head off of the last of the two Woos. Ja-yoon tells Ark-1 that she's looking for their mom, and since she's subconsciously connected to her, she can help. In the end, Ark-1 mourns the death of the siblings as Ja-yoon injects her with something, rendering her unconscious.